You got it. All kinds of goodies in there.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so nice. Comfort food, I love it.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, this is from all the schools.
That is really good. Very thoughtful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Maria organized all this stuff, put it together in there. All right. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, homemade.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Homemade, thank you. Thank you. I'm not sharing with anyone.
Maria spent quite a bit of time putting it together, making it look nice.
It does.
Maria, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have public comments and questions on agenda. None, okay. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move that the Brandon Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Now we go information and discussion items. Finance report from Jan Lee.
Yeah, hi, good evening. I have my budget amendment tonight.
Good evening.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so every year we're required to do a June, that by law, we have to do a June amendment or June proposed budget. And then the budget amendment is really more realistic because we know our enrollment and we know our staffing and we're through negotiations. So this budget is always much closer to reality than the proposed budget, of which we don't know enrollment and some other things. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the, we've got 3 funds that you'll be voting on tonight: the general fund, our food service fund, and our child care fund. I wanted to just always start out with some basic information of revenue. Our property tax levy, we have our non-homestead tax levy. In this district, we levy 17.8706 mills. That's no change from last year. The state does assume that you're levying 18 mills. We did have a rollback, so we do lose a little bit of revenue. But at any rate, we're at 17.8706 mills. Our non-homestead taxable value right now is $148,481,583. So our non-homestead or operating tax levy generates about $2.65 million towards our annual operating budget. So that's a big piece, our second largest piece behind our state aid. Our debt levy, 12.16 mils, and that's levied on all property. The taxable value of our all property is $601 million plus. So we generate $7.3 million in debt levy revenue, and that is strictly to pay off our bonds, our bonded debt. Some highlights from this budget amendment. The state, we are receiving $7,878 per pupil this fiscal year. That is up from $240 increase from last year, our biggest increase in several years. Our blended enrollment, for my purposes, I'm always looking at blended because that's what we get paid on. The blended enrollment, again, 90% of our October count plus 10% of our last February count. So we are at 2,379.87 FTE, and that is comparing our blended enrollment year over year. That's 106 FTE decrease. Our MIPSERS rate did go up this year. We are now paying 26.18%. We pay to the state, and that's for the regular MIPSERS. There are some of the newer employees who have come in on a different plan, a defined contribution plan. The 26.18% we pay for every dollar of wage, we pay that to the state. So that is a big amount. Continuing on our general fund budget highlights. This budget includes a capital outlay line item of $250,000. As you're aware, we do not have any outside source to help maintain buildings like a sinking fund or anything like that. So our operating fund does cover things. Right now we're well below that, so I'm hoping that, knock on wood, nothing major comes up and we'll be able to come in under budget with that line item. Our capital outlay for technology projects, which we discussed last month, we have an opportunity to get some federal funding. So this budget includes $285,000 for a huge infrastructure for our technology so that we can continue to support all of the devices with our one-to-one technology in the district. The E-rate reimbursement on that expenditure, which is included in the revenue section of the budget, is $159,599. The budget includes the district made a commitment, or the board made a commitment to increase our security, and so this budget includes $203,000 in security. That includes our liaison plus our premier security officers at every building. Once again, we are anticipating a transfer in from our food service department of $65,000 this year. And this budget, as discussed in the study session, includes a transfer out to a debt service fund of $262,377, or the current projected operating surplus. Okay, these numbers are always kind of small, but I did give you a PowerPoint. What I do every time I'm doing an amendment, I like to talk about compare. So our audited numbers from last year for revenue are on the left-hand side, and then the audited numbers for our millage, which is our tax levy, athletics would be pay to participate, and our gate receipts. And then our state revenue, which is our biggest, that's our pupil times what the state is giving us. Federal grants, next line item, PA18, that's a special ed millage that's levied in Oakland County. It runs through open schools, and then we receive NAPs for helping to support our special education programs. And then miscellaneous is local revenue, like E-rate revenue and that type of thing. If we compare last year to this year, you'll see on the very far right, which we're always looking to compare, we're up slightly on our tax levy, which is surprising because our taxable values have gone up. We have a slight decrease in athletics. That's due to less kids, we have less kids in the district, so we have less kids participating. Our state revenue is down slightly. Again, the state revenue, we have less kids, but the less kids was offset by the $240 per pupil increase plus some additional one-time special ed funding we're getting. Federal grant percent change is an increase. That's really not an increase. What happens at the end of the year, what we actually spend is what our revenue is. So we never spend all of our federal grant money. We spend a lot of it, but we don't, and it carries over. So last year, what we spent compared to this year's budget, that's why it looks like a 17% increase. PA18, we're down slightly. That's been a trend. Every year we're getting a little bit less from open schools, unfortunately. And then miscellaneous, we are up, and that has to do with transfers. The last one, the transfer capital lease, the reason that's down, we bought 2 buses last year, and those buses had to be recorded in revenue, $199,000 revenue, and then $199,000 in expense. And then the lease payments were separate. So that's why it looks like that decrease, that $199,000 is taken out, and then $10,000 less for the transfer from food service. So that's our revenue. Any questions regarding these numbers? Okay. On expenditures, I always show expenditures 2 ways, by function. And earlier we discussed the what comprises the individual lines. We have instruction, that's both regular general ed and special ed, instructional support, we have all the different categories. We are looking at, we had a decrease in instruction slightly. We actually do have a reduction in staff, but the current staff through negotiations did see an increase, so the reduction is not, it's reflective of both the decrease in the number of staff and then offset by the increase through negotiations. Instructional support, general business, we can go down. Transportation is our biggest reduction right now through the outsourcing to First Student. Central services, we talked about the E-rate as part of central services. That's why we're seeing an increase there over last year. Everything else is relatively the big one, the operating transfers out. The very last line is the, again, that's the transfer that we're discussing to go to our debt service to make our energy bond payment and future IPA. Any question on the expenditures or the different functions? Okay, and then just object is another way to look at expenditures. So we just looked at it by function, and now by object we have salaries, benefits, purchase services, materials and supplies, capital outlay, and other. So if we're comparing, the reason our salary line is the big reason that the salary line is down and the purchase services is up, and that has to do with, again, the transportation contract. We're paying a contracted company, so the purchase services is up and the salaries are down. Benefits is the same, that's basically the same reason. Materials and supplies is up slightly. Got some grant money in there that we are using. Capital outlay is up slightly. Again, that has to do with the E-rate, and then other is the transfers. So bottom line is currently we're looking at expenditures of $25,786,766. We do have an operating balance budget once again this year, I think our 5th year in a row. Any questions looking at expenditures in this format?
Nope.
Okay.
Doing good, Jan.
I know, it's so exciting stuff. Fund balance analysis, because we always talk about fund balance, as we need to make sure that we are we want at least an 8% fund balance. We've been doing very well with that. Last year, audited number, we ran a surplus of $222,211, so we added to fund balance. This current budget, we're projecting a surplus of $262,377. Let's talk about percentage. If you look at fund balance as a percentage of revenue, last year 16.15, this year 16.03. Assigned fund balance, the board decided we've been increasing that, but we're at $2 million. That assigned fund balance is to cover capital projects in the district because we don't have any other source to do that. So we've had this assigned fund balance for 2 or 3 years. Unassigned fund balance, difference between the fund balance and what the $2 million that's earmarked, we're at 8.32%, which is above the 8% goal, I believe was the unofficial goal of the board. The state recommends, the state would like everyone to be at least at 5%. So our unassigned is well over that number. So we are we're strong fiscally, financially. Food service real quick. We did per our audit, we were mandated to increase our lunch prices. There's a formula, and we had found we did not meet the formula. So we're looking good on the food service fund. Slight increase in revenue. The federal reimbursement did go up this year. What the federal, what they reimburse us for free and reduced lunch. I met with Suzanne last month, and sales so far were good, so we kind of did some projections on food service. Our catering revenue is up quite a bit, so we think that we're in good shape on the revenue side. We have decreased. Suzanne has not replaced a couple employees as they've left in the lunchroom and as we've gotten smaller, so our wages are down slightly. Bottom line is we are running We're going to be able to transfer $65,000 from the food service fund to general fund. And our fund balance at the beginning of the year, $284. We have a slight operating deficit, so we're going to end the year at $257, which I want to mention that I know you're all familiar, but every year, for 2 or 3 years, we got a letter from the state, our fund balance in food service was too high. We're not allowed to keep too much money. Basically, you take 9 months, or you take expenditures for 9 months, divided by 9, we're allowed to keep 3 months of expenditures of fund balance. So we're okay, we should not be getting a letter this year. We're anticipating we've worked that out. And Suzanne has done a lot of changes. I know the Harvey Swanson cafeteria looks real good, so we've invested in the food service area. Suzanne does a great job there.
She does.
She does, yeah. We love the quality of the food and the salad bars and quality of the food, so. Good stuff. Child care fund. Kudos to Diane, because a couple years ago we were running a big deficit here. Tighten the belt, we've got more revenue coming in. This has been child care, which includes both our GSRP program and our this is just our child care. I'm sorry.
Preschool Academy.
Yeah, it's Preschool Academy. We have a balanced budget this year. So that's good. We're starting the year with a fund balance of $23,640. So we actually have a little cushion. Looking to no transfer from the general fund. So we're looking to add just a slight $477. So we're pretty much even right now. We have a balanced budget in our child care fund while we're serving, how many kids, Diane? I should know this. 170? Okay, we have a lot of kids in our preschool academy. So this program has really grown, and we're proud of it. And we're not only is it grown, but we're able to financially run the program with no support from the general fund. So that's a good
Excellent
thing.
job, Diane.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yep. She's done a great job. I know. Matt and I are like, we got to make cuts, and she did it. So, which is great. And then that's it. Any questions on our food service or child care fund or anything else? Okay.
No, I know I'm all set.
Okay. All right. That is our budget amendment. At this point, unless something drastic were to come up, the next budget amendment will be in June, which will be our final budget amendment.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our education report, Dr. Schmidt.
Oh, no, carrying it with me.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Before I officially get started, I know he's not in the room anymore, but Brad Zuby, I got to compliment him. I was just sitting over there watching him as he went down every single kid, not once looking at notes, not just remember kids' names, but remember GPAs, tackles, yards, all the statistics. I mean, that's a guy who gets it. So if you see him out in the community, just give him an attaboy. That's impressive stuff. So to new board members, each month I get the opportunity to come up and give what's called the educational update. Basically just talking about teaching and learning taking place in the district and just giving you a quick snapshot of where we're going, what we're doing, or where we've been. This month, I'm deciding to talk about something that's coming up and to actually offer an invitation to you if anybody here wants to take me up on it. Next month, we're going to be trying something here that we're calling an instructional review. We are firm believers that it's all about the kids, but if it's good enough for the kids, it's good enough for us as well. We expect all of our kids to be growing. We expect all of our kids to be learning and constantly getting better at what they do. So we're going to be asking ourselves to do the same thing with a leadership team and at each building and every department in the district. In essence, what we're going to be doing is really taking a review of ourselves internally. We're asking all of the administrative team to take part in this, and we're going to be traveling from building to building as a group, looking at what we're doing, looking at our successes, looking at our struggles, and helping each other grow using the mindset of iron sharpening iron and really pushing ourselves to achieve and grow collectively and individually. We're going to be looking at what works. We're going to be asking for people to be open and vulnerable and to be real and talk about what some of their struggles might be so that they can get some offers of suggestions and advice from their peers and their counterparts. We're going to be going into individual classrooms and providing feedback on student engagement, not through an evaluative lens, but to try to get an aggregate score of what's working respective to the norms, and then also looking at processes, routines, and just overall student learning. What we're going to be doing, in essence, we're going into each building for about 2.5 hours, and it's going to follow the structure that you see on the board. This is our framework, so it might deviate slightly, but each school is going to have the opportunity to bring their leadership team forward in front of us, whether it's just the principal, assistant principal, or a couple of others that are really in charge of creating that framework of their leadership structure, their school improvement processes, to present to the team of other principals and other administrators who will be sitting there just listening to the presentation of strengths and struggles, the glows and grows, however you want to phrase it. And we're just going to be sitting back, listening to their take on how things are going this year. Really asking them to reflect this, knowing that the administrators were given a preview to this a month ago, so they've now had 2 months to think and really reflect. This time of year, we're all about reflection and growing and making our resolutions, so it kind of fits. So they're going to be able to stand up and say, here's where we are in our growth process. Then we're going to split up into teams. Teams of 2, go 2 by 2 into individual classrooms, and just spend 15 minutes in as many classrooms as possible. In some of the buildings, that allows us the opportunity to literally visit every single classroom and just focus on student engagement. We've got a framework that I'll show you in just a minute that's going to really allow us to dig deep and see whether or not student engagement, one of those buzzwords we talk about all the time, is really active and really in existence, and then again get some feedback. And then we'll wrap it all up with a debrief. We'll talk about what we saw, we'll give some suggestions, we'll give some guidance, and then we'll again grow collectively. Now, the focus in all the buildings is really going to be on 2 things. It's a review of the programs and assessing the things that we put in place year after year to see if we're actually seeing results in those areas, and then again student engagement. Because we know that oftentimes we can go in and we can see things with blinders on. We see things either through rose-colored glasses or with the cloud over our heads based off of our individual lenses, so having other people come in sometimes helps you just get a refreshed view of things. So school presentations, what are we going to be looking for? A sharing of student learning data. We have some of that big picture data, but we're wondering what they're looking at, what's important to them, what's relevant to them, and how they're seeing their data. We're looking towards their progress in their school improvement goals. Every year in the state of Michigan, and literally every state across the country, schools have to write school improvement plans. Where they say, here's what we're going to do to get better this year. And in a lot of places, those just become a hoop to jump through. They're not something that really we live by. But we're seeing our principals are really living by them this year. So we're going to use this opportunity halfway through the year to do a quick status check. How are we doing in meeting our goals? And then we're also going to look at needs. Where do we need to refine some things, and how can we help plan for next year? We are already in that phase of planning for next year, both with budgets, with staffing, programming, teaching, learning, professional development, you name it, we're already looking forward. When we're in classrooms doing observations, again, we're going to be looking through a lens. We got a protocol and a process that we're going to be looking at, but really looking at these categories. One is differentiation and equitable learning environment. All kids have individualized needs being addressed in every classroom, or is it just one size fits all? We're looking to make sure that there are high expectations for kids, that kids are being challenged at least the standards level. We're looking to make sure that it's a supportive environment where kids are helping kids, where kids are getting the support that they need, however they may need it. That it's an active learning environment, that there is progress monitoring and feedback, and that it's well managed. These are the domains of what student engagement really looks like. It's not just a bunch of kids out doing stuff and being active. We're really going to break it down into the individual categories and give feedback about where the relative strengths are, where the relative weaknesses are, and where we can refine things and where we can really highlight things, and again, learn from each other. And then the debrief, again, we're going to just, we're going to give feedback on what we see, on the plans and initiatives. What we saw is areas of really great strengths, maybe some weaknesses, and just some of our own suggestions. Because we don't always get to sit down and have these conversations and learn from each other, shoulders rubbing and having these critical conversations that can help us move forward as individuals and as a system. So the dates for this, if you are at all interested, the invitation is open. Just let me know. You don't need to come to all of them. I need to make sure we don't have quorum at this setting at all. So if there are people that would like to attend any of these, if you've got buildings you'd like to see or you want to be a part of this process, just shoot me an email. And I'd be happy to try to coordinate it so that we can get some people in just to offer some perspective and get some great learning opportunities from you and from us.
I'll send you all the dates. You don't have to write it down. So. I'll text it to you right now.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am?
almost done.
My question is, this sounds like it's from general then? Or are you getting really down to the specifics of the target students that we need to raise up and get engaged?
Yeah,
Or-
it's a great question. It's both. So when we provide feedback, the debrief, we're not going to be providing individual students. We're not going to say little Johnny or little Susie. This is more of for the leadership team and their structure. So we can look at generalized feedback. So when we give, for example, the feedback on student engagement, we're not necessarily going to say in Mr. Jones's class and in Mrs. Smith's class, this is what we saw. But we'll provide some general trends. Here's the general trends that we see in your building. And then we might have some follow-up conversations later on. But because some of these leadership teams might be composed of classroom teachers and peers, we don't necessarily want to start singling people out as immaculate or maybe having some struggles.
But you're gonna have data.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's going to be quantifiable data, yes. Yeah.
I apologize if I just missed it.
You're fine.
The leadership group that is going to be engaging in this activity
Sure.
is comprised of what number of people, and it's going to be from what groups?
Sure, absolutely. So each building has their own structure right now and how they devise their leadership teams. For some, it might just be a building principal, it might be a building principal and assistant principal, it might be a building principal and a couple of strong teacher leaders. Every building has kind of had their own system that's helped them devise their school improvement initiatives in the past. So the buildings are selecting those people as we speak.
And the visiting team is all on the right side of the aisle, right over here, main and administrators. That's the visiting team.
That's what I was assuming.
Yeah.
So here's another question.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like the black cloud in the way I
Oh,
ask
you're
my
fine.
questions,
You
but-
asked a great question, I have to say.
So 15 minutes. I think about if I were to assess
Yeah,
and what I do for a living, a situation in my
absolutely.
work atmosphere in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not suggesting it take more time because I respect everybody's time.
Sure.
That's not where I'm not looking to do that. But 15 minutes
Yeah.
to get through that list
Yeah.
and walk away
So,
and realizing you guys
yeah.
know what you're looking for.
Sure.
It's identifiable to you as in contrast to, a layperson in this field. But even in my world, I don't know if I could walk away.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to the question that Diane was asking about what kind of feedback are we getting? And the purpose of the 15 minutes is that we can get a full picture of as many classrooms as possible at various points in lessons. Beginning of lessons, middle lessons, end of lessons, first grade classrooms, 11th grade classrooms, science classrooms, social classrooms. So we want to try to cover the gamut so that by the time we're done, we've seen a full picture without necessarily just focusing on any individual classrooms. When we see a snapshot, then we can follow up and say, we want to follow up, and maybe we'll come back tomorrow or later on this week with a couple of us to see an individual classroom where there might be some amazing things happening or some struggles, and we can follow that up.
So if you walk in and I'm just going to call it what it is. Some classes, it could be a rough 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
15 minutes, anything in it.
Sure. Mhm.
So there would be the opportunity to
There's
reassess and go
absolutely
back
follow-up,
without,
yes.
again,
Yeah.
consuming too much time of
Absolutely, and
everyone's-
again, this isn't something where it's not related to teacher evaluations. It's not something, we're not using this as a gotcha by any stretch of imagination.
Right, I
It's that we
understand.
can paint a full picture of what we see as an aggregate. Absolutely.
And it's more about the school than the individual teacher with
Sure.
these reviews.
Sure.
Okay, I think every building administrator can tell you that when you go in and do classroom observations, even if you go for a full class period, and I knew this as a classroom teacher, when I would be observed, I would go and somebody would come observe me, and it would be something that went just off, and I'd tell my principal, oh, but if you would have only come second hour, or if you would have only come fifth hour, or if you would have stayed another 5 minutes, you would have seen. And there's always something that you miss, no matter how much time you're there. So this at least allows us the opportunity to see as much of the entire school as possible.
Anybody else? Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, just send me an email if you're at all interested.
Thank you. Okay, now on to our action items. Could I get a motion to appoint temporary chairperson, Maria, for elections?
Move that Maria Schering serve as temporary chairperson for the selection of the president.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. Maria, you're in charge.
All right, okay, let's move on. The next item on the agenda is the election of president. And At this time, I will accept nominations. There is a motion to move and support.
I would like to
Nomination for
a
president.
nomination to support Diane Salter as well.
Are there any other nominations at this time?
To move to nominate.
Okay. Do you have support? Alrighty, so right now, at this time, what we are going to do, could I have a motion and support to close the nominations, please?
I move that we close the nominations for the position of president.
Support?
Support.
Is there any discussion before we go to the roll call vote?
Yeah, I would like to say something. I've been on the board a little over 6.5 years, and this was my first year I got to be president, and I feel that I was just starting to get sort of the feel of things towards the end of the year, and would like to continue in a positive, communicative direction with our board, and hopes that we can get back better to the community, have a better year than we did, but I really want to work on community and communication.
Any further discussion at this time? Seeing none.
I-
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to say, the elephant in the room. I was here last year, and as a parent in the district, I have a strong feeling that never again can we treat parents the way I was treated in the district, whether we agree or disagree with any parent in their regards of how they feel about anything. Our number one service is to our families and our students, and we need to be respectful of that. Calling a parent out by name in a paper can never happen, as far as I'm concerned, whether we agree or not. I would like to see that we're very respectful, we are listening, and no matter how we feel about anything that's happening, that's coming across to us, that we're listening more, and that we're always treating them as we would want to be treated if we weren't sitting back here. It's important to me. Last year was really hard for me, and I handled it the way that I could handle it. There has been no discussion from it since then. I've had a couple of board members put me aside after it happened. But I think that my role at the table now is to work with everybody here, and that will be put aside and behind us. But I am here to make sure that never again will the parent feel that way, or have to go through that from the board side.
Is there any further discussion here this time?
I guess I'll just say I'm going into my 9th year on the school board. I've served the role of president, I believe, 4 times already. I've led the board and my organization through a lot of very difficult times. And we've had packed crowds here, we've had angry crowds here, and we've had calm and normal crowds. And I think I've done a good job of weathering the storm of all that. So that's why I would like to have the role again. I think it's something that I'm good at, and I think it's something that has worked out well for the board in the past.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we will move on to the roll call vote. We have nomination number 1, Diane Salter, nomination number 2, Kevin McClellan, and what we will do, we'll go around the table, starting with Melissa. Coming this way. Melissa, may I have your roll call vote, please? Nomination number 1, Diane Salter. Nomination number 2, Kevin.
1.
Lisa, can I have your roll call vote, please?
One.
Mary Ann?
One.
Kevin?
Two.
Diane?
One.
John?
One.
Sarah?
Two.
At this time, based on roll call vote, Diane Salter has 5 votes. Kevin McClellan has 2. Therefore, Diane Salter is declared your elected president of the Brandon Board of Education.
Thank you. Thank you very much, members. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, now, we will take nominations for vice president. Do I have any nominations for somebody to come on board as vice president? I'll second.
I'm sorry,
Kevin.
Kevin.
thank you.
I'd like to respectfully decline the position.
Okay, is there any other nominations for vice president? I nominate Lisa.
Second.
Is there any other nominations for vice president? Okay, could I have a motion to close election for vice president?
Motion to close election for vice president.
Can I get a second, please? Okay, and Lisa, you're vice president. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, and now for election of secretary, could I have any nominations for secretary?
Huh?
Melissa?
I
Okay,
nominate Melissa.
I'll second. See, she's already got the
How
pen
this always
going.
happens. You sat by me.
Okay, I'll second. Any other nominations for secretary? Okay, could I have a motion to close the election for secretary?
Move we close the nominations for secretary.
Support.
Congratulations, Melissa. Welcome aboard. Okay, nominations for election for treasurer.
I nominate Mary Ann.
I'll second. Is there any other nominations for treasurer?
Move we close the
Treasure
nominations
Planet
for
is
treasurer.
nominated for 1 Oscar for Best Animated Feature.
I have no idea how that happened. I didn't touch it. Sorry. I think I turned on. It's a brand new phone. Sorry about that. Okay, any other nominations for treasurer?
I move that we close the nominations for treasurer.
Second.
Okay, congratulations, Mary Ann. So, okay, next on our action items, could I get a motion for the resolution to set our time, date, and places for our regular monthly meetings?
Move that the Brandon Board of Education adopt the resolution as presented.
Support.
Okay, discussion is we have, well, this meeting obviously, but in February will be the 2nd. And the other big item is we're going back over to the Brandon Board of Education School Board room for now.
A little bit more, a little closer, a little bit easier for people in the audience to hear. There's a variety of positives, like the parking lot being completely full in half our meetings recently. And, so the board was there for many years, and I'm recommending that we pilot that, see how we like it back over there. We're going to make some technology changes so that people can see things really well in that room. We've upgraded that room since 5 years ago with a lot of student pictures and things like that. So that's we'd like to recommend that. So.
That was just my one question, that we're gonna still be able to offer the same type of IT solutions for people to see easier and visual.
We'll have mirroring
Okay.
these two walls.
And I know from the past when we've been in there, it's pretty much easy to see because like it's only maybe 2 or 3 rows of people typically. And I do know that when something comes up and we feel that we do need more space, we can come back here. Remember, we've been in the PAC before in the past, so there are other options. It's not like we're stuck there for every meeting, so. Any other concerns, questions? Okay, all those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes. If I could get a motion to approve the depositories for school funds.
Move to name JP Morgan Chase Bank, Clarkston State Bank, the Bank of New York, US Bank, Michigan School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus, and Fifth Third Bank as depositories for Brandon School District and Michigan School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus as the authorized investment broker.
Okay, any discussion? That's pretty standard. Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. If I could have a motion to designate a person to serve as a contracting agent.
I move the Brandon Board of Education designate the superintendent of schools to serve as contracting agent to sign agreements and contracts for Brandon School District.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Pretty standard. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, a motion to designate persons authorized to sign checks.
Move the Brandon Board of Education designate the superintendent of schools or the Board of Education president as the authorized persons to sign checks for Brandon School District.
Okay, discussion?
I have a question on that. Is that a two check signature policy or one, how is the checks and balances on that?
Superintendent.
Okay. So does somebody review like the checks that are being signed and like how that's
Yes.
over a certain dollar amount or
Yes, there
anything
was
like
a time when over certain dollar limits.
that? Yeah, I just wasn't sure like how, what's the process? Just so
What's the
I know.
checks and balances system for?
Right, well, everything is, I mean, that's my office, I have an accounts payable person, and we, most things are paid through purchase order. So the purchase order process, the approval is on the front end, before they can even buy something, there's an approval process.
Okay.
And if
Not that I
something,
don't trust
we
you.
have a five,
And the check registries in every single month board packet,
Okay.
and all the auditors, everything, it's all part of the whole auditing
Okay.
package.
Not
So
writing
it's
checks
part
and then asking you approval.
No.
Okay.
no.
Which is what I thought, I just wanted to double check if
No,
there
it's
was
a good
some
question.
two signatures or.
It's a good question.
Sure,
Okay.
we use it here.
And now we get a lot of automatic, like with the salaries, that's automatic, so those aren't even checks anymore
Oh,
anyway.
absolutely, yes.
So-
Thank you for that.
But yeah, the check register you'll get every month, so if you ever have any questions on that.
Okay, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Okay, designate person authorized to sign purchase orders.
Move that the Brandon Board of Education designate the Executive Director of Business Services as the authorized person to sign purchase orders for the Brandon School District.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those, anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes. Designate person to serve as an electronic transfer officer.
Move that the Brandon Board of Education designate the Executive Director of Business Services as the authorized electronic transfer officer for the Brandon School District.
Support.
Okay, any discussion?
You know, I've never asked this before, but should it say or my designee? I
Yes.
oversee it, but I actually do not do that. I do not do anything in transfers. My accountant does that, or payroll.
It's actually your office, really.
It is
so-
my office, yes, and I noticed on some with Dr. Outlaw, it said or designee, so I'm wondering if we would want to add that.
Can you make that modification?
It should.
Yeah, let's make that one.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I think to be exact, it should, yeah,
So we're adding or designee to the
yes.
Okay, any other discussion or concerns?
Who's designee?
In my office. I don't physically make the transfer, the person who handles the banking in my office does that. I sign off on it, but she actually makes the transfer.
So it's your designee.
It's my, yes, my designee.
That's what it should
yes.
say.
Yeah.
yes.
It's an internal control process
Right.
with cash, we have a lot of.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion passes. A motion to establish fees charged for individuals requesting notice of board meetings.
Move Move that the Brandon Board of Education establish a fee of $1 per notice via postal mail for individuals requesting notice of board meetings.
Support.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed say no. Okay, the motion to establish board compensation.
Move the Brandon Board of Education establish $0 per member as compensation for the 2019 calendar year, January 1 through December 31, 2019.
Okay, any discussion on that? It's what we've done since I've been there. I think Kevin too. Okay. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Okay, a motion to designate person to post vacancies and accept resignations.
Move the Brandon Board of Education approve the superintendent of schools or his or her designee to post vacancies and accept resignations.
Support.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Motion passes. Designate a person to post public notices.
Move that the Brandon Board of Education approve the superintendent of schools or his or her designee to post public notices.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed say no. Okay, and then delegation of recording secretary duties, and this would be by Melissa.
I, Melissa Clark, as Secretary of the Board, delegate myself to serve as Recording Secretary for the Brandon Board of Education.
I'll second. I think it was Maria too, isn't it?
Sorry.
Maria.
Yeah,
But if you
I
want
start
to.
talking,
That's
right.
Yes.
Oh, no, do it. I don't want to do it. Yeah. I said Melissa started talking, so there's my one mistake for the meeting. See, there you go.
He's supposed to.
Nope, Marie is over.
Delegate Maria to serve,
I
okay?
want that.
Okay, any discussion? You don't have to write as much, Melissa, it's not a bad job.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Okay, and then assignment of the Board of Education representative to the MASB.
I move the Board of Education appoint Kevin McCollum as its representative to the Michigan Association of School Boards.
Support. Okay, any discussion? Thank you, thank you. Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Okay, assignment of Board of Education representative to the Oakland County Intermediate School District. You know what, I'll do that. I make a motion.
Move the Brandon Board of Education appoint Diane Salter as its representative to the Oakland County Intermediate School District.
Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed say no. Okay, now appointment of designated spokesperson for the Board of Education.
I move the Brandon Board of Education president designee be appointed the designated spokesperson for the Board of Education.
Support. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. Approval of authorized purchase card users.
Move that the Brandon Board of Education approve the employee position titles authorized to use the district credit debit purchase cards in conducting of district business as presented.
Support.
Okay, any discussion on that? I know we have a list.
Who typically are those individuals?
I should look at.
Who's typically those individuals?
So it's on page 103 of the people here. So I'm just gonna go through it. 103. Okay, it's
I didn't bring
superintendent.
that page, sorry.
So it's superintendent, Maria, curriculum office, enrollment office. It's like the leaders, and then it's the different principals.
Okay.
So each one of the schools have it, and the limit for most are like 2,500. And then there's spots where like curriculum where you have to buy like books and things. So Dr. Schmittou has up to 5,000 on his. So there's different dollar amounts and everything with that. But it's a smaller list. That list used to be way bigger.
Yes.
And the board tightened up, which was a smart move to have less.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Okay, a motion to approve the budget amendment resolution.
Move the Brandon Board of Education approve the budget amendment resolution as presented. Support.
Okay, any discussion on that? We covered it in the workshop. Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, approval of E-rate technology project contracts.
Move that the Brandon Board of Education approve the following E-rate technology projects. 1, Seahide Computer Products Incorporated purchase in the amount not to exceed $254,032, and 2, Amerinet purchase in the amount not to exceed $27,091 as presented.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Just, Jan, you want to just give them a brief update? This was from last month.
Yes, this is the $285,000 that it's the E-rate program is a federal program. We have to apply for this every year. This is to support or upgrade our technology. We're a one-to-one district. This is something that we've been putting off in the hopes that we would get this funding. Fraction of this will be $160,000 roughly will be reimbursed from the federal government. So the project will cost about $90,000 as opposed
That's
to
40%.
60%.
Will we pay 40%?
Yeah,
Right.
we pay 40%. So this project actually, we have until September 30th. We're hoping to get it in this budget year. It depends if Seahide or the majority of the project. So Thomas is working with them. We're trying to get it by June 30th. We'd like it completed. If it's not, we'll see this again in next year's budget. Because it'll have to happen over the summer.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, citizens input. Come on up.
Hello again, this year hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother. I actually did want to speak to you about busing. First of all, I wanted to say I was completely opposed to privatization. However, the transition amidst my, not wanting it has been fairly smooth for the most part. What I am coming to you tonight for to ask is we've been through 2 drivers on my route already. I know my route's not the only one, and I know there's going to be imperfections in a new system. But my driver's change was midweek without any notice. My children were not notified. If they were, I asked them. They are in kindergarten and 2nd grade, and they said, well, I think Miss Carey's just out sick today and we have a sub. And so I had to call Mr. Thompson, who knows me by name. He's fantastic. He's doing great at his job. Kudos to him. But he was reassuring, and I love our new driver, Mr. Kyle. He's fantastic. He is a first-year bus driver, which is a little scary for me because my route is arguably the most dangerous route in the district. However, I was hoping that maybe I've been running some ideas through my head that we could create, or you guys or somebody could create an email list for each bus. So I'm bus 41, so you put myself and all the other parents on bus 41 on a list, and when we have a driver sub, which we've had a few subs this year for various reasons, or sick days or whatever, instead of me having to call the transportation department to find out if I now have a new driver, I just get an email blast saying, hey, Mr. Kyle is not going to be there today, you're going to have Mr. Johnny. So that way I know my kids aren't alarmed. Then I don't have to bother Mr. Thompson and call him at the office. I'm sure I'm not the only parent, with all the changes and all the driver changes. And then I also wanted to ask if there was any updates on the app that we're supposed to have to be able to track the buses.
So last one first, the app, I've been corresponding with Josh. It's supposed to be available this month. I will check it great tomorrow. Yes,
Okay.
that was part of our contract. Last I heard, we were on track for it to be this month, so I will check on that tomorrow. First part of the question, I think that's a great idea.
I just feel like it's like cheap
I
or
actually
free,
thought we were doing that, so I'm a little surprised to know that we didn't.
We had this question earlier in the year.
We did,
And we talked
yeah.
about our expectation that takes place, so
I'm surprised.
we're going to work on it. We're going to make sure it
I
doesn't
feel like
happen
the
again.
easiest time to do that is when you guys send out the bus inquiries with our kids' information and stuff like, is your kid riding the bus, are they not riding the bus? Just include a line on there. We need your email if you'd like to receive updates on your driver or the situation of your bus.
And maybe the app, maybe we'd be able to do it through that.
Yeah,
We're
I mean,
gonna tell
that
you
would
what
be
time we're
fantastic.
going to get there, maybe We'll work on that for sure, because I agree with you.
Yeah, it was just like a real abrupt change, because there was like an opening on another route, and it was real confusing for the kids.
Or even a remind 101, so it comes as a text.
Yeah, something, just some sort of notification would be great.
We'll work on that right away. Thanks for the heads up on that. We really
And
appreciate
that's
it.
it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like that's it. Meeting adjourned.